Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ICAS Spring Symposium Libertas 2024. We are absolutely delighted to host Honorable Ambassador Shin of Korea. Having said that, my colleague Dan will introduce Ambassador Shin. Thank you. Dan, go ahead.
Well, terrific. So thank you, Dr. Kim. And it is my privilege to introduce Ambassador Shin to discuss Korean Peninsula issues with us this evening or this morning, based on where you are. Ambassador Shin joins us today with deep experience at the intersection of diplomacy, intelligence, and national security. He's a retired diplomat, having served in a range of positions, from minister at the Korean mission to the United Nations and minister at the Korean embassy in DC to Korean ambassador to Pakistan. Ambassador Shin is also a former intelligence officer who held various senior positions in the National Intelligence Service. He also served as president of the Institute for National Security Strategy. He's currently the president of the Academy of National Intelligence, an affiliated body of the Korean Association of Public Administration. We look forward to hearing your remarks, Ambassador Shin. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Ambassador Shin for his remarks.
Thank you. Okay, Ambassador Shin, it's all yours.
Okay, can I proceed? Thank you for kind introduction, Dan. And actually, I feel thrilled and privileged to speak in front of this distinguished group, whom I have long admired. I also thank Dr. Sang-Joo Kim and ICAS for providing me with this rare opportunity. As introduced by Dan, I have background of working for more than 30 years at the Korean government as diplomat and intelligence officer. But I must confess that I'm not an expert on North Korea. Through my career as government official, I became to obtain my own sense of view on North Korea. With that limitation, I will make my statement. And this is my personal view, not representing my government position. These days, many experts or laymen do express concerns about the risks that we may have to confront on the Korean Peninsula due to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's hostile remarks about South Korea and the United States, accompanied with military provocations. South Korea's media reported that US officials, incumbent and retired, have assessed that Kim Jong-un's recent declaration should be taken seriously. Even two former state and defense secretaries warned at January 30th House hearing that North Korea may attempt high-intensity provocation while US deterrence capabilities waning. During the last 3 or 4 years, the pace of North Korea's developing its military arsenal were rather dazzling one. Now, it became almost meaningless to count the number and kind of missiles launched by them. There is concern that level of concerned technology will be greatly enhanced with Russia's assistance. At this forum, I will not speak about North Korea's military capability. I want to focus on significance of Kim Jong-un's recent aggressive words to Seoul and why he adopted such course of moves. North Koreans using slanderous tongue is not an entirely new phenomenon, and North Korea's leading allies are no exception. I remember Kim Yo-jong, younger sister of Kim Jong-un, and the deputy director of the Publicity and Information Department often abused South Korean president as boiled cow head or first-class jackass. Trying to demonstrate that North Korea had hegemony in inter-Korean relations, she behaved as a spokesperson of the regime or her brother Kim Jong-un. Her harsh words became apparent when Hanoi summit ended in failure in February 2019. Maybe their disappointment in Moon Jae-in's role as a facilitator of US-DPRK dialogue prompted such attitude. I vividly remember the strange atmosphere apparent at the US ROC DPRK summit gathering on June 30th, 2019 at Panmunjom. Then President Moon Jae-in eagerly tried to be a part of the event with all smile in his face, yet his desire ended in frustration. Another presumption I may take is that Kim Yo-jong saw with her own eyes development of South Korean society when she personally attended Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games in 2018. She must have reported in detail to her brother what she had witnessed and experienced. Brother and sister may have arrived at the conclusion that the North cannot compete with the South in normal ways, and Kim's family's long-endured dream of unifying the peninsula can never be possible through peaceful means. So Kim Jong-un and his regime decided to beef up its military arsenal while engaging dialogue with the United States, particularly with President Trump. They did not try to disguise their contempt of Moon Jae-in government. Even all this considered, we need to seriously examine why Kim Jong-un made such dramatic decision at the plenary session of the Workers' Party and at his New Year's address. The contents are first, calling the South as the Republic of Korea to separate states. Second, completely write off the concept of unification from DPRK constitution. Third, eradicate all government bodies in charge of dialogue and exchange with the South. Fourth, thoroughly conquer, dominate, and reclaim the Republic of Korea and annex it to DPRK territory if a war broke out. On Kim Jong-un's remarks, so-called pundits in South Korea make various comments about his motivation. They say, first, reflection of domestic difficulties. Second, crackdown on loosened discipline of the people influenced by the reactionary culture of the South. Third, acknowledgement that the North cannot compete with South in peaceful means. Fourth, conviction that external environment is on their side, etc. Reading Kim Jong-un's mind has never been an easy job to do. But let me share my thoughts with you why he made such a drastic turnover. First, with the accumulated military capacity, Kim Jong-un may have reached a conclusion. Dialogue and exchanges with the South is no longer necessary. His gesture to reconcile with the South, particularly with the Moon Jae-in government, returned with huge disappointment. That's why he instructed his people to abolish all government bodies in charge of dialogue and exchanges with the South. Although I'm not sure I'm going too far, his decision also implies that he does not expect much from his supporters in the South. Second, if on the surface, Kim Jong-un is walking away from his grandpa and father's will of unification, it seems to me that he rather sees more window of opportunity for unification by force with his augmented arsenal of nuclear and missile capabilities. So he may argue that he faithfully inherits forefathers' instructions. For more than 7 decades, North Korea never gave up the goal of achieving unification by communizing the South by force, despite many beautiful words of peaceful unification and unification on Confederate system. Third, this rather contradicts my two previous thoughts. However, Kim Jong-un may feel that the external environment is developing to his advantage. War in Ukraine continues to linger. Unity of the West may face rupture. Crisis in the Middle East may invite a new global war on terrorism. The result of Taiwan's president election casts uncertainty in regional stability. The most prominent interest for Kim Jong-un may be the upcoming US presidential election in November. He may expect weakening of US-ROC alliance and US-ROC-Japan cooperation as an aftermath of the election. Strengthened bilateral ties with Russia must be an encouragement to Kim Jong-un. He may also expect resurrection of all the glory of equidistance diplomacy between the Soviet Union and the PRC in the 1950s, pursued by his grandpa, dreaming of the revival of Northern Axis among China, Russia, and North Korea. Now, let me briefly touch upon possible steps that Kim Jong-un or North Korea may take in the near future. As the words of the supreme leader in the North carry utmost weight and authority, Kim Jong-un also needs to demonstrate his people that he's serious enough. This may help him control his people and also contain their complaints. Kim Jong-un may be waiting with a great patience a momentum or a condition that allows him to take a certain kind of provocative moves. He frequently visits the military production facilities. In a visit to a munition factory, he referred to South Korea as main enemy, while emphasizing the need to keep stockpiling overwhelming power. He also said, "We have no intention of avoiding war if Seoul were to initiate conflict." In the process, he would try to test the solidity and interoperability of US-ROC alliance. It is not easy job to presume the intensity of a provocative action Kim Jong-un may take. I think Kim Jong-un will not attempt all-out confrontation, as he knows such a situation can trigger a full-fledged war on the peninsula. He will try to foster a sentiment of fatigue among us while making the South difficult to take immediate counteractions. North Korea's provocation may include firing near NLL, continued missile launches, infiltration attempts using drones. South Korea's general election could be an attractive venue to test South Korea's readiness and determination. No one in the North will dare to bring the issue of dialogue and exchanges with the South, as Kim Jong-un instructed to eradicate all government apparatus dealing with this issue. Then, is it okay if we assume that North Korea will stop all operational activities against the South? Quite contrary, North Korean operations will be more clandestine and subtle. We need to pay attention that there is no change in the military apparatus in charge of operations against the South. I want to draw your attention on a seminar recently held at our National Assembly on 24th of January, organized by a National Assembly woman. A presenter at the seminar labeled North Korea's war as war of justice and argued that South Korea needs to accommodate the North Korea's view of war for the sake of peace. Timing of seminar and contents of presentation was delicate enough to assume that there were hidden hands of North Korea. As general election comes nearer, such argument from the pro-North Korean activist group will be more frequent. Finally, what should we do against Kim Jong-un's drastic turnover? We need to convey a clear message to Kim Jong-un that it is not South Korea who firstly abandoned the cause of peaceful unification and concept of one Korean nation. South Korean government must give a stern warning to Kim Jong-un regime that it should take all responsibility for its misdeed. South Korean government also needs to double its efforts to promote understanding of Korean people and engage in more active diplomatic initiatives to win the international support. In security terms, monitoring and surveillance capability over possible North Korean provocation must be strengthened. Both the US and South Korea need to send a clear message that ironclad security alliance will by no means affected by North Korea's provocative moves. I don't know whether this is coincidental or not, yet I found an interesting commonality in North Korea's perception of South Korea and China's perception of Taiwan. As reiterated above, Kim Jong-un tried to make it clear that South Korean people are no longer brethren of the South. Although background should be somewhat different, Li Qiang, China's prime minister, referred at the People's Congress Taiwan issue as grand task of unifying fatherland, 주거 통일 따위에, while his predecessor Li Keqiang described as process for peaceful unification of the fatherland, 주거 빙하 통일过程. Word peace has been disappeared. In addition, friendly expressions such as two straits are connected in blood, 血脉相连 is gone. Likewise, North Korea also scrapped such words as peaceful unification, same nation, or brethren. Is the PRC taking a lesson from North Korea on how to handle its adversary? If you allow me, let me change the subject a little bit. Although I'm not sure it is prudent enough for me to say something about my country's upcoming general election in the context of national security and possible intervention attempt by the North. As a matter of fact, Dr. Sang-Joo Kim's request of my view on DNI's report, the 2024 IC Annual Threat Assessment, in specific DNI's address on Korean Peninsula matters, prompted my argument. Firstly, on DNI's report, I should say report was well articulated, yet I sensed the strange was that this discussion on North Korea missed a part, malign influence operations, which was included in China and Russia sectors. As you may know, North Korea is second to none in this area. As I hinted earlier, North Korea should regard our general election as an opportunity to sow domestic discord among voters or test our preparedness and determination against a possible provocative attempt by the North. If I were a North Korean intelligence officer, current ideological divisiveness in the South is hard to neglect as an operational target. North Korea boasts of its cyber operational capabilities. Exploiting a stronger host in the South, who are blindly adhere to Kim Il-sung's ideology, the North even can expect influencing the process and result of the election. In this election slated on April 10, it is hard to find a candidate, even the one from the ruling party, who make national security issue, including North Korea's nuclear threat, as his campaign agenda, let alone US-ROC alliance. In the meantime, head of opposition party ridicules Yoon government on China policy by saying that the government has a finger in the pie on two straight issues. In this regard, this election is peculiar enough. Let me stop here and looking forward to hearing your comments and the questions. I thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Ambassador. That's a great cover. Now, Tong Kim, are you ready? Go ahead.
Thank you, Ambassador, for doing this for us. Now, what are the conditions you think, in your result of your research so far, where Kim Jong-un might actually use nuclear weapons against the South or the United States? He says he's ready to use it, but he never said he's going to, or he never excluded possibility of force to use strike. But he also says if they touched us, if they take issue with us, then we are ready. And it's more than wartime nowadays. So what are your thoughts about these things?
Tong Kim, it's been a long time since I saw you last. As a matter of fact, I think the for Kim Jong-un using his nuclear capability, it is not easy for him to do so because first is that, you know, if he uses nuclear weapons on the Korean Peninsula, that leads to full-fledged war on the Korean Peninsula, and it's the end of his regime also. And secondly, I think that we are witnessing with some curiosity that he accompanies his young daughter. That is to say, he is still concerned about the so-called generation to generation succession. That means it should be never easy for him to give up that succession scheme. So I should say it is very difficult for him to do that. But I remember that Hwang Jang-yeop, who came to South Korea for a long time ago, he said, he quoted Kim Jong-il's remarks that if there's no North Korea, particularly no Kim family, whole this global community is meaningless. And according to Mr. Hwang's comment, he will use atomic bomb and break up all this globe. That was what Kim Jong-il said, and I think Kim Jong-un shared the same mindset. So if he feels desperate enough, maybe quite remote possibility, he may think of that, but he will do not that. And also maybe he is watching what Putin will do on the Ukraine front. Maybe this might be my answer.
Thank you, Ambassador Shin. Do you have follow-up question, Tom?
Yes, I have a couple of
Yes.
follow-up questions. Question number one, do you think the Korean Peninsula situation is secure today than 4 years ago? And are you satisfied with where the things are right now? That is no dialogue and no outlook of what's going to happen in the future with regard to North Korean provocation or are they ultimately afterward? And what about their decision-making process? Who's going to decide what at what point when situation becomes even more dire or more dire? And my last question is whether you can think of some things that North Koreans might accept as preconditions to dialogue at all, or there's no chance whatsoever, in your view, that they will come to dialogue again.
Well, under Moon Jae-in government, I think the peace was, a disguised peace, not a genuine peace. And President Yoon Suk-yeol, he tries to make it normal. The bilateral relations between the two Koreas, he wants to make it normal. That's why, he is strengthening the alliance with the United States. And in general, I think people in general, South Korean people, have some kind of the support for Yoon Suk-yeol's the approach to North Korea. But I think as North Korea, even I think even including the United States, Kim Jong-un does not regard see at this moment as the moment to resume dialogue, because unless he feels confident enough and he thinks he has something to sell to the United States, not to South Korea. South Korea is out of his, the interest. So maybe if the United States can suggest some attractive conditions, North Korea, Kim Jong-un may respond. But at this moment, I don't think the North Korea will respond. And what I want to, as you raised this question, what I want to express my concern is that recently, senior officials of the U.S. administration said was something like interim steps. It's almost the ending the part of the Biden administration, and we witnessed a similar one at the Clinton administration. I'm referring that Madame Albright's visit to North. Anyway, at that time, North Korea accepted. But what is interim, steps? Actually, conservative circle in the South have serious concern about that. It is confession that U.S. administration, particularly Biden administration, did nothing vis-a-vis North Korean policy. That's although maybe the partial reaction of South Korean conservative circle, but we have, I myself, including myself, have a concern about recent comment made by senior U.S. officials.
Thank you, Ambassador Shin. William King, go ahead.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for your very thoughtful and wise words, and appreciate the dialogue. I have two questions. I'll make them quick and easy. We have seen an uptick in the rhetoric, and I think Kim Jong-un is watching what Putin is saying and doing about tactical nuclear weapons. We've seen the same with the U.S. rhetoric toward China, and we're almost becoming dull by the continuous rhetoric. Do we think that North Korea may be using similar pattern to dull in our senses to get us used to hearing it, so that we are not as concerned or ready? And in many cases, he's gaining consent and support by the population because they're getting tired of the challenge. My second question, very quickly, is that where do we see this in the near future? How do we, Kim Jong-un has pursued nuclear weapons to become internationally recognized as a nuclear power, in my opinion. He is getting recognition internationally. As we just heard this morning, he and Japan are talking about potentially having an engagement discussion. He's found ways around the embargoes, both legal and non-legal ways around the embargoes with little enforcement. Is he achieving his objectives in getting internationally recognized as a superpower in many ways? And I'll stop there.
Frankly speaking, very difficult question to answer. Maybe Putin's threat to use nuclear weapons, tactical weapons on the European front is well recognized, accepted by the international community. Kim Jong-il may try to imitate or follow the trace of Putin. I think that's the answer I can give. And with the Japan DPRK approaches, yeah, as a matter of fact, both sides have the respective kind of benefits of some base they can bite. For North Korea, if relations with Japan can be improved, Kim Jong-un will expect, huge rewarding, particularly in economic sense. And for Japan, although the countries like the United States and South Korea is do something positive on the peninsula, but Japan claimed itself that they did really something great to improve the tension, ameliorate the tension on the Korean peninsula. And what is more important for Japanese leader is kidnapping issue. So if the summit or approaches could be made, then there should be the kidnapping issue will be the most pressing issues that they are going to discuss. However, I do not see a great possibility in the materialization of the summit between Kim Jong-un and Kishida, because although it has been the Japanese leaders, number one priority issue. However, there was a kidnapping issue. However, several conditions are attached to that issue also. So North Korea have to respond upon Japanese request. If that the request could be satisfied, then I think there should be some real substantial progress. But if not, they exchange some beautiful words together. That's my answer.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you. Don Kirk, go ahead.
Well, there's so many questions that come up, but I wonder how you feel about the U.S. Determination really to stick up for South Korea if push comes to shove, if North Korea really does anything, which frankly I don't think they're quite going to do. I agree with that. But how confident are you in the U.S. pledges of undying, endless support for South Korea?
The many foreigners, particularly our friends in the United States, may feel if they watch South Korean scene, it should should feel strange, because in the poll made by these pollsters, confidence and the trust of Korean people, South Korean people, the U.S.-ROC alliance is really strong, and still United States number one country that they can trust. However, there still lingers another side of the people who continuously request withdrawal of U.S. forces from South Korea. However, in general, I should say most of the Korean people do have a strong belief in U.S.-ROC alliance, and President Yoon made his very important visit twice in Washington D.C. and Camp David. So throughout his two visits, I don't know what will happen in the future. However, he made it the two countries alliance as an ironclad one. So
okay,
yes.
A immediate follow-up question would be: what if a different administration is in the White House and the State Department and Defense Department next year, and in South Korea? What if President Yoon his party cannot get a majority in the National Assembly, and quite a different set of emotions and sensitivities come into play in South Korea as well as in the U.S.
Well, that's really, I'm not a good fortune teller. However, I want to stress that Korea's status in the global issue has been changed. Not a one that the audience has seen in some 10 years ago. Whether someone can deny it, but the South Korean economy is number 10 status in the world. So
Mhm.
and recently I heard from the Jotel, our foreign minister.
Hmm.
He actually, I didn't have chance him personally, but he said to his staff and his close friends that in Seoul, he is so busy because of many issues coming up on his desk. And he made recently visit to the United States, and so many senior officials wanted to see him to discuss various matters. That much, I think, South Korean status has been, enhanced and changed. So even if Trump wins second chance, then he has to think different way, and I think that's why diplomacy, can work. So, and if the I think President Yoon has the strengths in his very kind of how can I say candid and the straightforward, kind of people. So that we may find some commonality between the two leaders. So frankly speaking, we have a very big concern what will come to us when the new administration led by Trump will be. However, with our accumulated wisdom and experience, we can overcome. So,
By the way, I'm sorry to ask another question, but why did President Yoon appoint a new foreign minister? Why was there a change in foreign ministers? Does that relate to any of these matters that you're discussing?
You mean foreign minister?
Yeah,
Jotel?
yeah, and he's a new foreign minister.
Yeah.
Park Shin was
No,
foreign minister before.
Yeah, Park Shin wants to run for National Assembly.
Well, I guess that's
There's no other reason.
nothing else to read into that. Okay,
Park Shin
thank
wants
you.
to continue his career as a politician.
Thank
That's
you
all.
for
That's all.
clarifying that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Don. Bill Jasper, go ahead.
Yes, hello, Ambassador. Of course, I want to call you Shin. I don't, I'm so used to
Yeah, Bill.
when we worked together way back there in Seoul. And, back then the issues I was looking at North Korea, you were looking at South Korea. And I'm still looking at North Korea, but I guess I'm more and more looking at South Korea. We tend to look at Kim Jong-un and what is he doing? We don't know what he's doing. And it's all kind of foolishness on their part, I think. But more important might be what's going on with South Korea in your own politics. I quite liked President Yoon's speech, about 2 years ago, the audacious, they say the audacious speech. Remember that one?
Yeah,
and everybody laughed and said, it's really not very audacious. It's just kind of more of the same. But I wrote a little piece sort of commending that one, using some other analysts' views as well, not just mine. But the way I titled my piece was Step Back, Go Forward. It's like we hear on our metro, the metro doors closing. Step back, doors closing. Then you can go forward. And I use that in reference to unification issue. To me, what Kim Jong-un is now saying is kind of recognizing the reality that there are two Koreas.
Mm.
We all want to, of course, we all want unification,
Mm.
but under very specific terms, we want it. We don't just want unification. And if we just say we want unification, all kinds of bad things are going to happen. So, you know, drawing a tighter line between the two countries, I mean, two different countries. You could say Republic of Korea, and you can say Chosen or something for North Korea. Two very different countries. They're as different as can be right now, you know? And the line between them, there's no trade, there's no, you know, it's totally autarkic. So to me, stepping back, recognizing that reality, and putting in South Korea all kinds of rules on dealing with a rival state that's next door, like it is. So the DMZ is very tight, no trade across it. But you have in your constitution and all your laws, all these ideas that you're the same country. For example, no tariffs between these two rival states. Well, I'm kind of thinking all that should be changed, and kind of what my idea is, like going back to France and Germany right after World War II, right? They're vicious enemies, France and Germany are. They fought a huge war. They start off with autarky, no trade whatsoever, but they gradually start dealing as rival states and start opening up some trade where the trade makes sense for both of them. In Korea's case, that could be coal, North Korean metals, South Korean food, maybe agriculture, you know, small things like that, and start growing a natural rival state relationship that could grow more into an EU-like development over a long time. That's the way I wrote my piece. And now Kim Jong-un is kind of saying almost the same, right? He's saying no unification. Well, we're rivals, so we're going to take them over. Well, they're not going to take you over if you put up your defense. And you've got a great defense, and we're helping. You know, there's no way North Korea is going to take over South Korea. So in a way, I'm more optimistic that, you know, a reality can set in which South Korea can recognize itself as a big, powerful country, and, you know, snub your nose at North Korea. If they don't want to, that's their problem. You know, you don't sort of, this is the audacity with President Yoon, I thought. So he doesn't have to cave into everything that Kim Jong-un is saying about unification. Anyway, it's just kind of my comment. But I am interested in your view of how you think South Korean politics are reacting to that idea.
Actually, no, you know, the politician at this moment, you know, there's to make the proactive or a concrete comment on that, because still, you know, regardless whether it's 국민의힘 or you know, 민주당, they say that support idea of reunification by peaceful means. So that does not you know, work on South Korean politicians. However, I agree with your point in many aspects, but you referred the case of France and Germany. They fought each other. However, they were not the same brethren, same people. You know, although Kim denies that people in the North are not same brethren with people in the South, but, you know, to Korea's case is different from the you know, European case, I should say. And if you know, Kim Jong-un's, or if we you know, acknowledge or try to accommodate what Kim Jong-un said about the unification issue, I should say in the South, so-called MZ generation, many. I do not have the concrete percentage, but they feel that in the future we may do not have any necessity to pursue unification with North, because we are doing well, we are living well. Why should we care about our neighboring brethren who are in dire poverty? That's if the kind of a sentiment spreads, then I think we have some serious kind of identity problem concerning unification. So I think we should be very careful on that. Anyway, I take your comment and advice, well.
Thank you, Ambassador. Chung-Soo Lee, are you out there? Chung-Soo, are you ready? If not, David Lee.
I'm ready.
David, go ahead. Oh, Chung-Soo, go ahead first.
I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you, Ambassador. Just to pick up on the last question that Mr. Brown raised, if North Korea is not interested in unification, does that mean that they are not, at least as a stated goal, they're not proclaiming that they're gonna unify by military means? They will simply focus on maintaining the regime, security of North Korea, and economic prosperity. And if that's their stated goal, then how should South Korea respond to that? Should we help in that regard? So less on the military protection, but more in terms of commerce development between two independent countries.
As I said in my statement, Kim Yo-jong, Kim Jong-un's younger sister, she has witnessed the development of South Korean society, and if it's a political leader, then she should have a great sense of kind of crisis. If this kind of situation continues, then there will be no way that they can even coexist with the South. You said that the trade and commerce. Actually, many the previous Korean governments wants to try to expand its contact points with North through commerce and trade. Kaesong, the industrial complex, is the very strong testimony to that effort. But you know that North Korean authority have our businessmen live entirely, permanently. So that kind of sentiment, if lingers in the North, why should the South Korean people take risk? And I should say Kim Jong-un's mindset, I also hinted that his decision was to cope with internal, not division, but internal disorder caused by the South Korea's, culture aspect. One thing I may say is that North Koreans who defected to South, they are saying now that we call the North Korean defectors, some of them were, did you hear the words "꽃제비"? Who did some beggary at the beggar to get some food or materials, but they are saying that they want to be called as drama generation. Drama means Korean drama generation. That much Koreans the except the other aspect of a military or some hardboiled stuff, the cultural aspect or information from the South is penetrating, not the fantastically in speed way, but gradually spreading out inside North Korean society. That's why North Korea enacted the law to punish those who tries to imitate or who watch the Korean drama. I do not actually have the evidence, but some those who obstruct law has been killed in official in public scene. That's the I think the crisis sentiment that Kim Jong-un or his regime. So I think I don't think this is the right answer for your question. However, I think we should do more in the putting more information into North Korean society. So let the North Korean people do recognize what the current status of their country, as well as what is going on, happening on the global community. We these days we didn't say any words like unification by absorption. No, we tried continuously to through engagement as well as the mutual exchanges, but those Korean authorities feel that no, they cannot do it no more. They cannot do it no more because it is critical for the the longevity of the regime. I don't know that was the right answer, but that's my comment.
Thank you, Ambassador Shin. David Lee, are you ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ambassador. So with rumors of Russia likely vetoing any UN resolution, continuing expert panels that monitor sanctions against North Korea, are you concerned at all about the continued effectiveness of these existing diplomatic structures like UN sanctioning bodies or the Security Council, for example, in relation to the Asia Pacific? Do you believe that some change is necessary in that regard?
I should say it's a kind of a critical moment for Security Council, the operations, and we Koreans are watching with a big concern about the kind of a intervention by China and Russia to against United Nations resolution sanction regime on North Korea. But although there should be some limitations, but South Korea recently joined the Security Council as although no permanent member. But so South Korean government or our foreign ministry should make best efforts to continuously raise this issue and the Security Council, as well as try to communicate, more honestly and candidly with the representatives from China and Russia. I think it's a disappointment for the South Korean side. However, that's the reality, I should say.
Thank you. Dunkirk, do you have follow-on question?
Actually, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Unbelievably, I don't really have a follow-up question at this time. You've covered so many points, but I'm sure that others will have great questions. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you. Bill, Jasper, go ahead. Open your microphone, Bill.
Okay. Is
Okay,
that
go
working
ahead.
now? Yeah, I always have a follow-up. And I thank you so much for your answers. They're very, very thoughtful. And I don't want to give the impression that I don't want unification. Of course, I want unification. But the what you said really strikes a bell. You said the South side never wants to talk anymore about unification by absorption, right? That's kind of been politically incorrect for, what, 20 years now.
Yeah.
Well, in reality, that's, to me, is the only way I would want unification. And I think most Americans would be that way. And I think most South Koreans would be that way. You don't want a joint kind of communist democratic system. It won't work. You really want, South Korea wants a changed, a reformed North Korea, just like everybody. But there's sort of this fallacy of not being able to talk about it. You know, I'm afraid just feeds into North Korea's propaganda. And it might actually, I don't know this is the case, you would know better, but it may actually be a better situation now with North Korea saying, we don't want unification. It might actually help South Korea to sort of be very, very clear. If we're going to have a rival country next door, we're going to treat it like a rival. We're not going to give it anything. If we're going to trade with it, we both win. So you trade things that you both want. Commercial trade, not aid. I mean, Kaesong was a travesty. Kumgong-san was a travesty. Those kind of aid giver, you know, it just doesn't work. And it's proven. But I'm kind of thinking if you went back to just sort of two states, say, okay, we'll treat you like we treat, you know, China. And we'll trade with you, but only if we make profit, you make profit. And we have tariffs to protect ourselves from your stupid price system. You know, maybe that would work. I don't know. It's a hard thing. But I would argue that the South Korean side needs to, you know, don't be like an ostrich and say, oh, the doom and gloom. South Korea is doing so well compared to North Korea. The more I look at North Korea, it's almost a failed state. You know, it really is in very, very bad shape. And aside from its so-called nuclear weapons, which it really can't use, you know, Ukraine is a pretty good example. Russia's not using them, right? They've got plenty of nukes and they're not using them and they're hitting, you know, so what good are North Korean nukes? I don't know. But anyway, I thank you a whole lot for your comments. And I'm sure this discussion will go on another 70 years, right?
Okay, thank you, Bill. Jin Sung Bae, are you there? Go ahead, Jin Sung. Jin Sung Bae,
Yeah.
you raise hand. Go ahead, Jin Sung.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions. My first question is, do you think that North Korea will someday self-collapse? The reason I'm asking is that both, I guess, in some sense, both U.S. and the right-wing party of Korea have kind of relied on this idea that if you pressure North Korea with economic sanctions, and with North Korea being in a very poor economic state, ultimately Kim's dynasty will collapse. And that was a sort of the assumption behind sort of delaying the nuclear power plant aids that started during the six-party talk back in mid-90s. But now almost 30 years have passed, but North Korea is still, I wouldn't say thriving, but it's still, it still hasn't collapsed. So, with no leverage on North Korea right now from the U.S. or the South Korea, do you think, sticking this to this concept of that North Korea, if we wait long enough, that it will collapse and it will ultimately lead to the solution of resolving the North Korea's nuclear issue? So my first question is, do you still believe that the North Korea will someday collapse?
Okay, I think Bill should have some answer for this question. Actually, about whether North Korea will collapse or not, the interest communities of both both South Korea and the United States had many discussions and the exchange of views, but I think neither side had complete success in making guesswork or the anticipation. And as a matter of fact, regardless of reality of North Korea is most difficult in the challenge for, as a matter of the intelligence community. You can think of some access to other so-called authoritarian countries, even China. Anyway, China is working with the intelligence community, although their control over their society, through IC means, is getting strengthened. However, it is working with the intelligence community. But in case of North Korea, it refuses to do that, and they believe that their nuclear capability is the only kind of windpipe for them to survive. And if they really wants to engage with the South, the leaders, not the people in the North Korean people, they feel dire sense of danger or crisis if a real engagement is made. So I do not have the right answer. However, North Korean society, I think, as you said, there has been six-party talks and so many dialogues and interactions, between North Korea and the other remaining parts of the world. And frankly speaking, it seems, according to the statistics that we are getting from the related research institutes or agencies, their economy is getting worse and worse. However, they manage to survive. It's a really mystery for this 24th century this 24th century, but they can manage. However, I think as we have witnessed the case of Ceausescu in Romania, who knows when critical moment comes and the overthrown by its people. So it's hard to imagine that the external forces can by force can do something like a clap, make the North Korean regime clap. So without the workings of inside society, I think we cannot expect something that we want to see. So that's why I said that we need to continue our efforts to provide more information, from outside to the North Korean people in general, North Korean citizens, that what is the world going on, and what is the reality. So actually, as an intelligence officer, previous intelligence officer, is a really difficult question for me to answer. But Bill, may you have some comment on that?
Yeah,
Thank you. Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
Yeah, just real quickly, I like to use the word reform rather than collapse. I mean, what does it mean? A country's not going to collapse, fall into the sea or something? It doesn't make sense. But what can happen is the country can reform. Like China has done quite a lot of reform, and even North Korea, I would argue, is reforming. They use money now. 20 years ago, they had ration system. It's not completely reformed, but a great amount of reform has taken place. And that's why they're surviving, even doing okay. But they're doing okay because they're giving up their socialism. It's amazing to see how much money they use inside North Korea. So I'm not so pessimistic. I'm thinking that they are reforming. And eventually, if we wait long enough, probably longer than we're going to live, they will be formed to the point that North and South Korea can unify, but just not yet. Then a lot more needs to be done inside North Korea.
Thank you, Bill.
Please.
Okay, Don Kurlik, go ahead.
Well, Mr. Brown has inspired me to ask a question. Well, first a comment. I would disagree that Kaesong and Gumgang were failures. Having been to Gumgang 4 times and Kaesong twice, I thought that those zones were quite effective in giving some sense of where the North Koreans were coming from, and in striking up a certain very limited and circumscribed rapport with them. Obviously, North Korea was making a lot of money, or some money, out of Kaesong and some money out of Gumgang. But nonetheless, I wouldn't say those were failures. But anyway, to get to a further point, there's a lot of talk among certain elements in both South Korea and the U.S. of the advantages of an end of war declaration and even a peace treaty, and some quite influential and talkative, shall I say, loquacious figures keep on bringing up these two ideas. So, Mr. Ambassador, what do you think? How would you comment on this undying pressure for a so-called end of war declaration? I don't know what they really mean, because the war really did end in July 1953. But they say you got to have a declaration to say it's over, and a peace treaty. I don't know how you can have a peace treaty when one key element would be that South Korea would have to, if North Korea were to assent, would have to break off its relationship, its alliance with the U.S. And also, no one seems to remember when they talk about a peace treaty that China is also a signatory to the to the truce that ended the Korean War, and China has not said anything about this. But anyway, Mr. Ambassador, what do you say?
Actually, my longtime friend Bob Collin, I think he's a supporter of this idea. However, the end world declaration or something, the ultimate goal of such moves is, I believe, to get the United Nations forces framework. Of course, the real target is U.S. forces from South Korea. By saying, okay, the war is over, then peace comes. Was there any people who opposed to that? I don't believe so. But there should be some conditions to be met, if we can discuss such things. So if some preconditions, when preconditions could not be met, it is too premature and dangerous even to our alliance, or not to South Korea's national security. So I'm entirely against that kind of idea.
Thank you. Tong, do you have any follow-on questions?
Yeah, I was going to just to say that after a long discussion of what happened since, over 70 years since the division of the country, and as the war ended in the formal armistice agreement, and I think what we can do would be talking again. Without talking, you cannot discuss these things. By talking, I mean, you have to engagement. You have to engage in North Koreans somehow and start reversing all the good agreements we once have had that then terminated and failed. So by one, restore. There was a lot of good agreements we reached during the six-party talks, for example, and Kim Dae-jung's agreement with the Kim Jong-il on the methods of peace unification, the lower form of a confederacy, as North Koreans called it, and South Koreans thought there was a similar format that South Korea would pursue itself. So, and then there are all kinds of good agreements between North and South, and start divorcing and dividing all these agreements one by one. But to do that, you got to start talking at some point. Right now, what we are doing is, no talks, okay, just a deterrent. Deterrent also creates a new security risk because there's no guarantee what deterrent, and there's no limit. After all, security is a state of mind. If you think they're going to attack you, no matter how many weapons you have or nuclear weapons you may have, you still feel uneasy, insecure. So that's a deterrent. Now, right now, deterrent, they're focusing on the enforcement of the existing deterrent and the trilateral cooperation, including Japan, United States, and South Korea, creating new stumbling block to the dialogue to North and South Korea. Now, so my suggestion would be you gotta start, because you cannot go endlessly as we have gone for the past 70 years and just going around the vicious circle many times. Because all the good ideas are discussed already, and many of them are agreed upon in the format of documents. So but you gotta do that. Of course, you're going to have a deterrent. Without deterrent, who's going to talk to you? So deterrence, and so for the same reason, Kim Jong-un needs a nuclear capability to counter the weight of deterrent that we impose on them, which they feel as a threat to their security. So we have to remove all this insensitivity, sense of insecurity from both sides, and state of mind and have focusing on peaceful coexistence first, and then start talking somehow, somewhere, some point.
Mhm.
Without that, we're going to be just going through what we've been going through for the last 70 years.
I
Thank you,
Kim,
Tom.
I fully agree with you, and I believe that the U.S. administration is doing the efforts to have context or have dialogue with the North through various channels and means. However, I wanna the tell you my memory one. Several years ago, there was a conference in Seoul on North Korea, and George Trani joined the seminar. He said, United States said ready to make dialogue without any condition, regardless of place or something. And at the last moment, he said, but those Koreans never get the phone. So he said, God damn it, take the phone. That's the, sentiment we have on North Korea. If North Koreans feel that they do not have a lead or hegemony in dialogue, they are not moving. That's why they are watching U.S. elections as well as the more immediately watching the election result of our general election this April. So that's my response.
Thank you, Ambassador. Jung-soo, do you have a follow-on question?
I have a new question, if I may. I think North Korea is aiding Russia in terms of military, artillery, and so on. Is South Korea aiding Ukraine in terms of military ammunitions? And further, is South Korea aiding Israel in terms of military aid?
I should say definitely no. I do not have concrete information. However, with Russia, we getting the continued threat or intimidation from the North. If you provide military assistance to Ukraine directly, then you'll pay the price. And on the Israel-Hamas war, we are not in a position to provide any military assistance to Israel.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Don Kirk, you are done, right? Okay, very good.
Not necessarily. I was interested in Mr. Tong Kim's view that talk should somehow be arranged. Of course, the ambassador says that, well, North Korea is not answering, so how can that happen? But I wonder whether the whole impossibility of talks has been a bad thing. It's such a bad thing. South Korea has emerged as a tremendously vibrant and successful economy and culture, I should add. It's almost a golden period for South Korea without having talks with North Korea and while North Korea rattles sabers. So I'm not sure that going on without talks is bad. I almost think it's good. And I wonder whether I suppose that's not a view that's shared by too many people, but I just am throwing it out there.
Yes.
How about you, Mr. Ambassador? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. The dialogue is not a better thing at all. So if conditions could be met, we should do that. We should try that. And Korea, unfortunately, at this moment, at this stage, Kim Jong-un doesn't think his Korean counterpart as a dialogue partner. Not at all. I do not know how this Yoon Suk-yeol government is doing to make some engagement with North, behind the scenes. But this government also wants to have some dialogue because in order to lessen the tension and the crisis on the peninsula, we need to have dialogue. That's the only way that we can evade real crisis and the threat.
Thank you, Ambassador. Jasper, go ahead. Open your microphone. Bill?
I know you addressed this
Sure.
earlier, but maybe a real simple, concise answer. Is South Korean government or are you in favor of Japanese Prime Minister having a summit with North Korea?
Yeah, if that can be contribute
Yeah.
to having some peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula, there's no reason why we should object to that. However, as I said, conditions that Japanese side have vis-a-vis North Korea should be met, I think.
Yeah.
If not, Kishida will be in trouble from his domestic audience.
Yeah. No, I agree completely.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jasper. And ladies and gentlemen, time is up. And Ambassador, thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned. Ambassador, we'll get back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ambassador.
Thank you. Yeah.